We are ENZO, Edmonton Newcomer Zonal Outreach, a collaboration of settlement sector agencies in Edmonton, working together under the Urban System Initiative of IRCC to reach out and connect more newcomers to free Anglophone and Francophone settlement services in Edmonton. This is essential for a safer community. So talking about safe communities, this is one of the major ones. And I would like to share our land acknowledgement first before we proceed. With respect, humility, and gratitude, the Edmonton Settlement Sector Zonal Initiative acknowledges that Edmonton is located with Treaty 6 territory, the traditional gathering place of many First Nations, including the Métis, the Nehiyah, the Denisene, Nakota, Anishinaabe, Inuit, Nitsinabe, and many others whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our communities. We are committed to reinforcing Indigenous permanence, truth-telling, and reconciliation practices each and every day. So, okay. So on January 6th, the Federal Department of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, shared the proposal for the zonal service provision model with Edmonton Settlement Service providing organizations. This model was proposed to increase the access of newcomers to settlement services in the community by connecting with them in a more systematic manner. Following this initiative, a group of settlement sector agencies met to discuss and establish a new map based on the ward boundaries established for the municipalities. So, why ENZO was created? ENZO was created because IRCC-funded settlement services effectively meet the needs of newcomers along their integration path. Only 39% of adult permanent residents admitted to Canada in 2015 accessed settlement services until 2017. This report presented the findings of the evaluation of IRCC settlement program for fiscal years from 2011 to 2016 and concluded that settlement programs has been effectively meeting the needs of newcomers along their integration path. However, one of the findings of the report highlighted the need to increase the access of these settlement services to newcomers, since it observed that the adult permanent residents admitted to Canada in 2015, only 39% had accessed at least one settlement services between January 2015 to April 2017. This finding led to conversations with IRCC-funded settlement sector across the provinces and regions. So 70% of newcomers who did not access settlement services were unaware of the free IRCC-funded services available to them. So that was the Settlement Outcomes Highlight report in 2021, which we'll share with you later on. So the Federal Department of Immigration shared a proposal for the zone service provision model with Edmonton Settlement Service providing organizations. This model was proposed to increase the access of newcomers to settlement services in the community by connecting with them in a more systematic manner. So IRC-funded services that newcomers may be eligible for are support services, enable clients to access settlement services. NARS, needs and assessments and referral determine that services clients need and provides referral to receive them. Information orientation service provide information to help clients settle. Language assessment and language training services help clients develop their official language skills. Employment-related services help clients prepare for the labor market. Community connection services help clients learn about and integrate into their local communities. So the collaborating members established in 2020, after consultation with the settlement sector, the Edmonton Zonal Outreach Committee included Action for Healthy Communities, Assist Community Service Center, Burden Center, Catholic Social Services, ESA, the Edmonton Immigration Service Association, EMCN, FRAP, and the Alberta Immigrant Women Children Center. And the strategy and objectives of ENZO is to raise awareness of Anglophone, Francophone settlement service supports in Edmonton, to facilitate referrals and promote access to appropriate, adequate Anglophone and Francophone services and supports, to connect more newcomers to free services, resources, and supports in their community and citywide, and to enhance community stakeholder collaborations and partnerships for newcomer supports. So I just wanted to add to that is that Edmonton's zonal outreach strategy is also intended to guide the sector in understanding the trends in newcomers' access to settlement services locally, and by capturing data on these trends. Zone outreach SPOs can respond proactively to address barriers and work towards increasing newcomers' access to services. So our guiding principles were created to show that zonal outreach strategy is a collaborative effort undertaken by settlement sector in Edmonton. Zonal outreach has been designated to those 5 SPOs. While there are many agencies in the settlement sector, it is imperative to define the guiding principles that we follow, on which the zonal outreach strategy is developed and established to maintain best practices and ensure effective implementation. It involves essential players building on the strong collaboration in the Edmonton settlement sector and developing a cohesive system of outreach and referrals to effectively increase newcomer access to settlement services in Edmonton. The guiding principles developed by the committee are as follows. Information and awareness. Zonal outreach is needed to raise the awareness of Anglophone, Francophone settlement services support in Edmonton among newcomers, and to connect more newcomers to services and supports in their community and citywide. Zonal outreach focuses on facilitated referrals and increased access to appropriate and adequate services. So we do basically the referrals to all the services available in the city. Ethical conduct. The Edmonton Zonal Outreach Strategy is developed and implemented with ethical principles of trust, transparency, and equity among the settlement sector organizations, focusing on a strong collaborative environment. Anglophone and Francophone settlement sector organizations are not a part of the steering committee or directly involved in the zonal outreach, is included in the outreach directly involved in zonal outreach. There's awareness messaging, stakeholder engagements, and newcomer client-centered referrals. Organizations and staff conducting those zonal outreach in each zone will have the ethical responsibility to deliver the common zonal messaging and agreed upon stakeholder engagement. And then we have client-centered approach. The zonal outreach strategy is developed and implemented to support newcomers currently not connected to settlement services. Referral protocols must prioritize newcomers' interests and convenience and must be built on the principle of informed choices. So newcomers will be referred according to the convenience of their location, according to the convenience of the language spoken, according to many different needs that the newcomer might be facing as they arrive in the city. Newcomers must be given information about all the service providers in the community, providing Francophone newcomers with an informal choice for a referral to Francophone services. It is also in the best interest of Francophone newcomers to receive services in an environment of or cultural security, continuity, and sensitivity. Furthermore, integration in the community requires services and support beyond the scope of different services. So we do provide referrals to, we do provide referrals to convenience stores or to schools or daycares, and it's not specifically just settlement services. Strength-based model. Zonal outreach activities is delivered through a strength-based model, where each organization will use its unique strengths to reach out to newcomers in the allocated zones and deliver a common messaging. Each organization has its own capacity and outreach practices, which it can continue as before. However, the zonal strategy incorporates the strengths of the sector via input of the community agencies. And then client demographics. In an effort to understand the demographics of newcomers not currently accessing Anglophone or Francophone settlement services in Edmonton, agencies collect and share such information with the settlement sector in Edmonton, IRCC, during zonal outreach activities. Data collected is used to understand and address the barriers that hinder newcomer access to settlement. The situation that we've been facing lately with newcomers accessing those settlement services is that they're not aware of those services available in their community or within convenience. And that's mostly with people that come in through family members or through sponsored spouses or significant others. They rely heavily on them, and they, wait for 2 or 3 years, sometimes 4 years, before they access the appropriate services. I will actually leave it with Amanda now to continue with the rest. She will share with you the work that we've done so far.
Thank you so much, Rola.
Do you have any questions before I sit down? Or we can leave the questions till the end. Okay.
Oh, you're going to leave myself alone here? Okay. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Yang, and then everybody will call me Amanda in the service sector. I work for Edmonton Immigrant Services Association as communication coordinator. And then today I'm wearing my ENZO hat to introduce the initiative of ENZO. So by far, you have heard about how this initiative came into the board of Edmonton Immigration Settlement Services collaboration agencies. So they have a model proposed by IRCC, but nobody knows how to implement it, because this is the map we've got from our founder, and it's not very user-friendly. So as you can see, we have a color-coded area, and each color corresponds to one settlement agency. And then, for example, zone number 1, 1A, 2, and 3, which is yellow, is assigned to Edmonton Immigrant Services Association. So on and so forth. And to be able to clarify which borders we have for each organization, we created this table on the right side here. So this map was assigned to all the agencies. None of the agencies decided, okay, this is the area I want to take. So when we have that map, and at the beginning of our service, so the first question we asked ourselves is, what are we going to do in that zone? So going back to the objectives, going back to the strategies, so we came up two easier approach. So one is that we're going to reach out and then raise the awareness of the available services. Two, we're going to connect newcomers to available resources. And as Edmontonians, we decided that we're not going to leave out any newcomers. So which means some clients that may not be eligible for IRCC funded services will still take them in and will still connect them to available resources. And this is so hard because as frontliners, we directly deliver services to our clients. And when we are doing those two things, connection and outreaching, we're not allowed to providing services because our job is to fill the gap of the gap. So, so we are not going to talk about that piece of information that will help the client right away. Instead, we're going to say, you know what, we know a place, we know a person who can help you. It is very difficult for a professional working in the sector for more than 10 years and just to say, I actually know the answer. Why can't I just tell the client? The reason is, what we think that client is needing may not be the actual need. For how many times? We thought that the need was actually about translation, but actually it is about employment. So that's why we had collaboration with the NARS system. So NARS system was the needs assessment system. So we will leave the holistic needs assessment with settlement practitioner, and we will focus on outreaching and connecting. So let's take an example and introduce you how we use this map. So let's say SAYS. So we just heard the presentation and I just Googled their location. So they will be located north to 111th Avenue and just on the edge of 149th Street. So that will fall into my zone. So the next step would be I outreach to SAYS and learn some basic information about their services, share it with the team. And then we will keep in our knowledge base. And then when we find there is a client needs that service, then we'll provide that information. And that is one part. And then the other part is referral. And the referral is so confusing with this map because you would ask, okay, so somebody called me and then he is actually living in zone 12. So the number 12 is down here, which belongs to Edmonton, so EMCN is taking charge in that zone. So should I just refer him to EMCN because that's EMCN's zone? So confuse not, because as we go back to those strategies, so client needs based, right? So we need to have analysis where the client prefers to access service. That's number one. Number two, what language does the client wants to access service with? Number three, is this service is only available in certain agencies? So those are the three criteria that we use when we do a referral. And as a group of professionals, we decided we were going to do a warm referral. So we define that as we connect person to person. We're not going to say, hey, you know what, you need some settlement services, employment services, we're going to connect you to EMCN because they provide employment support. Well, the client can get that piece of information on the internet very easily. So what we are going to do is that we are going to reach out on the client's behalf to EMCN. We have Abdul Wali from EMCN, and then EMCN's contact person will arrange an appointment for the client, and then we're going to call the client and say, we have booked an appointment for you with this person, and then this person will collect your information, will provide this and that service. But we're not going to speak for our settlement practitioners because, you know, as I said, they will have a holistic needs assessment, so we'll just limit that information there. So we gave the clients a certain expectation what is going to happen, but then we'll leave the work with our professional coworkers. And as you would notice, that map was using the previous way of the wards of Edmonton. So we do recognize that City of Edmonton has updated the names of the wards, and then we are growing with it, and we are adopting those new names as well, even though they're very difficult to pronounce, but we recognize this. So we have 5 designated organizations. So on the top, this is Pearl, our coordinator. And then that is me from Edmonton Immigrant Services Association. This is Christine. Christine and Hyunjin down here, they both belong to Assist Community Service Center. And then Rola, you just met from Action for Healthy Communities. Abdulwali comes from EMCN. And then we have one coworker, Sabel, coming from LAFREP. So as you can see, we have a cultural diverse team, and we speak different languages. So that is an advantage to providing services to the newcomers. And we do recognize that accessing services in their language or preferred languages is their right, not because it is a barrier. Because usually people will say, oh, you work in this sector, that means, you can help people who cannot speak English. But often, the people who are working in this sector will tell you the otherwise. Somebody coming into the office, they can speak English perfectly, but they still can choose accessing services in the language they prefer, because language is the shell of culture. When they choose a language, it doesn't just choose what they speak, but they choose somebody who can understand them from their perspective of culture, and they don't have to advocate for their own cultural norm or cultural customs. So I would say the advantage is not just lying in the language that we're speaking, but lying in the cultural sensitivity of the whole team. So the next slide is about what value will ENZO add for newcomers. But before talking about this, I want to talk a little bit about value of newcomers. So newcomers are recognized as vulnerable group. And I think we all need to recognize that vulnerable doesn't mean weak. These are one of the toughest, strongest people that you can never know. They come to this country with very little or limited knowledge. And sometimes if they come as a refugee, they didn't even have a choice. This is not the place they choose to live or work, but they have to make it because they don't have other choices. So when we're talking about the value of newcomers, I think we can borrow the campaign from IRCC, which is hashtag immigration matters. But I personally do not agree with that campaign. I think it should be changed to hashtag immigrant matters. Yeah. So the newcomers does add great values to our society. But what ENZO wants to do is that we try to find a way to define our role at the beginning of this initiative. Because we're not quite sure what we are there for. Because if we do not actually provide a service, what is the value do we have for these newcomers? And then we have all these analogies or metaphors. At first, we think ourselves as a fishnet. So we're going out there and then see, oh, you access service, but you didn't. I'll ask why, and I will connect you. But it didn't go quite well because you're kind of going outside and then just assume that you're going to sell your service to these people. And then we were thinking that maybe we're bridge, which is a very easy analogy to think about. So we're trying to connect these people to the other end of the community resources or whatever. But this way has its own issue because that means the newcomers are in this end of the bridge and the services are at this end of services. But in many cases, they are in this community. They are not separated and we are in the middle. It's just not how it should be. And then we came up with this idea, which we all agree on. So we would be a person sitting beside the newcomers. And newcomers are driving a car, and we are just sitting there. And whenever they have questions, or whenever they feel unsure about where they're going, we are there. So we're not a coach. We are not providing assistance or support. We are simply companies. So that's how we define ourselves. So that's why the values are here. So we want newcomers, help newcomers, or connect them to some meaningful connections. So they have their meaningful settlement and integration experience. And they have reduced isolation. And very much, this has nothing to do with language barrier. You can speak perfect English, but when you're new, you still feel isolated. And informed decision making, again, with the internet, they can search a lot of information. But when you make that decision significant for the next 3 or 5 years of your life, it is always nice to have somebody just listen to your decision-making process and then provide other perspectives. Not say yes or no, but just providing another perspective. And then inclusion, which very much ties to the isolation, and then the community inclusiveness, and socioeconomic development, and healthier communities. So these are very straightforward. So I'm going to show you how we're going to achieve those goals. So you wouldn't believe me if I say we got it the first shot. So we tried different strategies from different perspectives. We talked to the frontliners who are working with newcomers every day, and we talked to the stakeholders who are providing services to newcomers. And then we kind of come up with different approaches. So one of the approaches is that we are going to outreach to the community at large, because we don't know where these newcomers are. They do not flag themselves. And then we were thinking, if we make an impact in the community at large, then probably, there are higher chances for us to meet these newcomers and then connect them and then raise awareness of the settlement service available to them. So we run several events, and we also go to different information sessions or events organized by other organizations. So one of the events that we run was the Newcomers Day celebration. That was September 2021. And by doing that, Edmonton officially becomes the second city in Canada who celebrates newcomers. So this is not Heritage Day. We're not celebrating, the food, the culture. We are celebrating newcomers themselves. And then this is actually a video. So I don't know why it doesn't play.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, it doesn't play. Yeah. So we also thought about the isolation piece. So we recognize that during the holiday season would be the peak season for the newcomers to feel that they are isolated. So we had a collaboration with Edmonton Food Bank and also the Islamic Family Services. So during the major holidays and cultural celebration, for example, Christmas season and Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year and the Ramadan. So we are going to send these greeting cards with the food hampers going to families. We know it's not going to be 100% newcomer family who will receive these food hampers, but again, this is an outreach to community at large. And then we also design these resources or outreaching tools. This is our magnet. And these are supposed to go with the potential client or community members who may know some newcomers. During the event, we will give out these, and then they can put it on the fridge, and one day they may, use that information and, tell their fellow community members that these services are available. So we also tried some targeted outreach approach. So that means we were thinking, well, newcomer will come into this country, and then there are highly frequently visited places. For example, airport. For example, community libraries, community schools, or food stores, restaurants. So these are the places where the newcomers would go. And also, of course, religious temples, mosques, and so on. So we were trying to first outreach to the pre-arrival settlement services of Canada government. So I don't know whether you're aware of the services. So before a newcomer lands in Canada, they can actually register themselves in this program and then learn about the places where they're going to live and work. So one of the mandate of this program is to help the French speakers to integrate in their communities, especially in provinces where French is not a dominant language. So Sabel from LAFREP reached out to this program, and then they were able to connect in more than 20 clients to or newcomers to Sabel, and then Sabel connected them to service available locally in Edmonton. So this was one of the attempts, and we actually got a pretty good turnout. So the other one is from Can Success. So I think the letter is too small, you cannot read. So it says community airport network, newcomers network. So what it does is that as a newcomer, when you land in Canada, there is a officer working with you and then collect your information, get your consent. So once you land in Edmonton, there will be settlement agencies contacting you. Are you consent to be contacted? And if yes, what kind of service would you like them to provide? So the client will do a self-assessment, and then they're saying, oh, I want to have service about health. I want to have services about important documents, for example. And we had a collaboration with this network. So anybody who lands in Vancouver airport and claims that they are going to land in Edmonton as their destination will give their consent and their self-assessment of service needs. And that information would be shared with ENZO team on a platform designed by Can Success. And we will log into that platform and see this information and initiate contact to those newcomers. So that is what we call seamless service. And so far, we have been having how many in total? Oh, hundreds of clients, yeah. So almost 300. So these are clients who, So these are the clients who completely new to the city. And this is, I'm not saying it is a good mine, gold mine, but I'm saying this is a successful example of targeted outreach. So following that approach, we would show up in celebration of communities where you have a lot of newcomers. So for example, we have this Filipino fiesta every year in Edmonton. So we were able to present ourselves there and then set up a table. And we also run year-end celebration event for newcomers in collaboration with Action for Healthy Communities. And the last one is what we just had in February. So we reconnected with all the clients that we contacted and connected. And then we run a movie event with them. And it's just nice to have that connection because we didn't directly provide that services. And we connected them to services, and we really want to know what differences we made, and ENZO made, and settlement services made for them. So that is just the newest event that we had. And we also use the most advanced mapping technology to help us identify stakeholders. Because in order to go out and reach out, we need to know who is out there, what services you're providing, and then what is the best way that we can connect the potential clients to the community resources. So we list all the stakeholders, the primary and secondary, and then we put in this Tableau platform with their longitude and latitude. And then this is how we have this, we call it a heat map. So in some zones, we have more stakeholders than in other zones. So then we have this chart here. So for each organization, we identified certain numbers of stakeholders, and these are the lists that we are going to follow when we are going to outreach. And this is, so far, what we have got. So we have 171 networking events or collaborative sessions. We organized 3 ENZO events, and we have 103 ENZO presentations or information sessions. These are organized by ENZO. And then we have stakeholders new connection to 261 in total. And we connect 686 clients in total. And again, not every one of these clients are eligible for the IRCC funded services because we don't want to leave anybody out. So this one is pretty simple. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. So ENZO is a part of the community. We are at the gap of the gap. So this is our mandate. We connect, inform and educate, collect the feedback, and we advocate and raise awareness. So this is the last slide that we have, and this is what keeps us going. So this is a client that we connected to settlement services. So she was sponsored privately by her spouse to Edmonton, and her spouse was very busy, working 7 days per week. So he couldn't take her out to anywhere to access support or services. So she learned about ENZO service, and she reached out to Rola, and she said, "Oh, I know you are also coming from Lebanon, and we speak the same language. You understand where I am right now." So Rola was able to provide the resources for her, and she was connected to employment support. And her, I think most importantly, she was connected to the community, integrated to her community. So this is her feedback. She said, "I sincerely appreciate your help for taking time out of your busy day and giving me the proper information and advice as a newcomer to Canada regarding the education and the legal situations with lots of sources and connections. Without your guidance and advice, I would have been indeed at odds. Thank you for accepting my connection request in the first place." So that is one of our clients, Carol. So at the last slide, I want to thank REACH Edmonton for this platform, for us to share this new initiative. And I want to share that at the beginning of the initiative, we learned all the stakeholders, and we were focusing on the information, the services that you provided. And then we kind of move along. We move to the strength. So what each organization's strength? But this is a huge learning curve for everyone and each of us. And at this moment, I think we are at the stage where we learn each organization's value. And I appreciate that for human service sector, we're all committing to building a better community in Edmonton, and ENZO is it's such a big honor for ENZO to be a part of it. And thank you.